Modern military supremacy relies on the illusion of absolute control. But that illusion vanishes the moment an $80 million fighter jet plummets into hostile territory. In the rugged, mountainous region of southwestern Iran, an American F-15E Strike Eagle went down after being struck by hostile fire. The two-seat aircraft was manned by a pilot and a weapons systems officer holding the rank of colonel. Both crew members successfully ejected before impact. Instantly, a localized clash transformed into a global crisis. For Washington, a captured airman is a catastrophic political vulnerability. For Tehran, an American prisoner is the ultimate geopolitical leverage. The stakes are no longer just about controlling airspace. It is a desperate race to claim the ultimate strategic currency, a human life. Whoever reaches the stranded officer first controls the narrative of the entire war. How does the most advanced military on Earth retrieve a single person from behind enemy lines without sparking an uncontrollable global catastrophe? To understand the gravity of this event, we have to look at the global system of asymmetrical warfare. The modern world economy relies on the predictable flow of energy and trade, which superpowers protect by projecting military force. When advanced militaries engage in operations, they depend heavily on technology to keep the human cost artificially low. This system exists because democratic nations possess a very low political tolerance for casualties. A high-altitude bombing campaign is politically sustainable. A drawn-out hostage crisis is not. When an American military asset is grounded in hostile territory, the entire geopolitical equation shifts. A downed pilot is no longer just a soldier, they become a strategic commodity. For a sanctioned state facing economic isolation, capturing an American colonel provides a massive bargaining chip. It forces direct negotiations, stalls ongoing military operations, and fractures domestic political support within the attacking nation. The nation that captures the pilot effectively gains disproportionate leverage over a superpower, bypassing billions of dollars in military hardware. The current crisis in the Zagros Mountains is the direct result of a breakdown in military deterrence. For decades, overwhelming air superiority was enough to enforce strategic will in the Middle East. The underlying assumption was that advanced aircraft could operate with virtual impunity. But economic incentives and power dynamics have shifted dramatically. Operating under crushing sanctions, Iran recognized it could not compete conventionally. Instead of building expensive fighter fleets, the military invested heavily in asymmetrical defense capabilities. They mass-produced shoulder-fired air defense systems and mobile surface-to-air missiles. These weapons are cheap, highly mobile, and easily concealed. They are designed for one specific purpose: to raise the political cost of an air campaign to an unacceptable level. The downing of the F-15E was the predictable outcome of this strategy. Immediately following the crash, Iranian state television broadcast images of the wreckage and publicly offered financial bounties, urging local tribal groups and citizens to capture the evading Americans. The operation to retrieve the missing airmen reveals the hidden, incredibly complex architecture of modern combat search and rescue. When the crew ejected, the situation immediately fractured into two distinct timelines. The jet's primary pilot was located and extracted by United States rescue teams under heavy fire within hours of the initial crash. But the weapons systems officer, the colonel, remained unaccounted for. The next 48 hours became an intense evasion operation. The weapons systems officer became separated in a treacherous mountain crevice. Despite being seriously injured and bleeding profusely, he scaled cliff faces, treated his own wounds, and stayed hidden from the converging search parties. To survive, the officer had to utilize an invisible lifeline, maintaining contact with American forces via an encrypted radio. Transmitting a signal is incredibly dangerous in a sophisticated electronic warfare environment, as the enemy can triangulate the frequency. Because the physical terrain belonged to the enemy, the rescue force had to manipulate the information space. The final extraction relied on a coordinated deception campaign. Central Intelligence Agency operatives planted misinformation within Iranian communication networks, spreading false rumors about the officer's location to divert critical military resources. Simultaneously, overhead MQ-9 Reaper drone strikes were deployed to keep advancing Iranian troops at bay. Supported by this combination of digital deception and precise aerial bombardment, Special Forces successfully retrieved the weapons systems officer on Sunday morning. The economic and strategic consequences of this single event ripple far beyond the immediate battlefield. The immediate losers are the regional military commanders who failed to secure the pilot. By broadcasting the bounty and mobilizing local tribes, the state attached its domestic prestige to the capture. Failing to secure a severely injured man in their own territory, despite overwhelming numerical superiority, undermines the credibility of their asymmetrical defense strategy. The economic impact is embedded in the global supply chain. The airspace over the region is highly contested. When a major, multi-day search and rescue operation occurs, involving dozens of heavily armed aircraft striking ground targets, commercial flights are abruptly diverted. Maritime shipping through nearby choke points is severely delayed. Insurance premiums for tankers carrying liquefied natural gas skyrocket. The mere threat of further escalation drives up global energy prices, impacting ordinary people at the gas pump, thousands of miles away. For the intervening government, the cost of success is staggering. A search and rescue operation of this scale requires diverting hundreds of millions of dollars in military assets. During the recovery window, multiple helicopters took heavy fire, another combat aircraft was shot down, and transport planes had to be intentionally destroyed on the ground to prevent their capture. The sheer amount of resources expended to retrieve one individual demonstrates the immense political liability of a potential hostage situation. A massive misunderstanding shapes how the public views modern conflict. The dominant narrative assumes that advanced technology, stealth fighters, and precision-guided munitions make warfare a clean, entirely predictable process. People believe that modern wars are fought entirely on computer screens, guided by satellite feeds, and resolved without soldiers ever touching the ground. This fundamentally misreads the reality of combat. What most people get wrong is the assumption that technology eliminates human vulnerability. Warfare ultimately comes down to physical control of the ground. An $80 million flying computer is utterly useless once gravity takes over. The entire weight of a superpower's military apparatus was paralyzed by one person hiding in a rock crevice. The belief in technological invincibility obscures the uncomfortable fact that asymmetrical adversaries do not need to defeat a military in the air. They only need to drag the conflict down into the mud, where the technological advantage disappears. Looking ahead, this event forces three specific scenarios. The first scenario is the escalation trap. To prevent further losses of expensive aircraft and avoid the political nightmare of downed pilots, the attacking military shifts tactics. Instead of manned flights, they rely entirely on long-range standoff weapons and unmanned drones. However, drones cannot effectively hunt mobile missile launchers hidden in mountainous terrain. The enemy's ground forces begin operating with greater freedom, forcing the superpower to either accept reduced military effectiveness or risk deploying ground troops. The second scenario revolves around the hostage economy. The defending nation realizes that threatening human personnel yields far more strategic leverage than targeting physical infrastructure. They restructure their entire air defense network. Instead of trying to shoot down aircraft to destroy them, they prioritize specific weapon systems designed to disable planes, forcing ejections. They establish highly coordinated localized ground capture teams designed to swarm a crash site before international rescue forces can arrive. The third scenario is a global economic attrition conflict. As the superpower continues to expend immense resources to protect personnel, the financial burden mounts. The airspace and surrounding maritime routes remain permanent high-risk zones. Global supply chains adjust to the instability, permanently raising the cost of energy worldwide as insurers price in the constant threat of localized skirmishes expanding into broader warfare. The machinery of modern war is vast, complex, and expensive, but it is remarkably fragile. By downing a single aircraft, a heavily sanctioned nation forced a superpower to halt its operations, risk dozens of additional assets, and spend millions of dollars just to retrieve 2 people. The illusion of absolute control was broken by the simple reality of a human being falling from the sky. When the most advanced military on Earth can be paralyzed by a shoulder-fired missile and a mountain crevice, who is actually dictating the terms of the war?